Hi everyone, welcome to Move Up with Hamilton. I know we've been on a hiatus for a while, but we're back. Today I want to be talking about never giving up. And I'd like to tell you a story I heard from Zig Ziglar. He said there was this guy called Bernie Lovechick. He had two daughters and the family was so excited because the wife was pregnant with the son. And eventually when the son was born, everybody was happy, their joy knew no bounds. And the child was brought home, but they realized that after a while, they saw that the child's head held limply to the right, and he kept on drooling. So, because they were so out of their concern, they took him to the family doctor, who looked at him, examined him, and said, "Oh, the child will be fine. He will outgrow it." But he didn't feel satisfied, so he took the child to a specialist, and the specialist checked the child out and said the child had what was called cerebral palsy. The child was spastic, and because of that, the child would not be able to walk or talk or count to 10. And Bernie, because he was a salesman, he just felt he wasn't going to buy that. So instead, he took the child and went to another specialist, and he got the same report. He took it to the third, the fourth, the fifth, and he continued until he got to 30 different specialists, and all of them gave the same diagnosis, that your child has cerebral palsy, he will never be able to walk or talk or count to 10. They went ahead to advise him that it'd be best to have their child, David, put in an institution for his sake and the sake of the normal people in the house, in the family. And he felt that he wasn't going to buy that. So something in his guts told him that there had to be a way out, there had to be a solution. So he kept on researching, and he got to learn about a Dr. Pearlstein in Chicago, Illinois. He calls the hospital, and they tell him that the doctor is booked 2 years in advance. And he didn't have 2 years. So he kept on trying until he was able to get the doctor's home phone number, calls the doctor at home, and pleads with him to make his son David first alternate. That if anybody cancelled, they will call him to bring David over for examination. So what he did, so as God will have it, in 11 days' time, he got a call that a boy from Australia had cancelled and David could take his place. He picked David up, they flew down to Chicago, Illinois, and when they got there, David went through a very, very extensive examination. And at the end of the examination, they brought the parents back in, Bernie and the wife Elaine, and they broke the news to them. They told them that David indeed had cerebral palsy and that he would never be able to walk, talk, or count to 10 if they listened to the doctors of doom. He said there was a slight chance that David could overcome his ailment, but it calls for the kind of dedication that people claim to have but fail to follow through with. And they said David had to be pushed beyond all human endurance, and that while they're pushing him, if he falls down, they have to pick him up and push him again. And that one other thing he told them was that they should never ever give David therapy in the presence of any other child that has cerebral palsy, because if he saw that child and he saw the awkward movement, he was going to learn those awkward movements. So they said yes, they were going to do it. And they said this takes dedication that parents and people generally say, oh yes, I'll be able to do it, but never are able to follow through with. But he promised the doctor that he was going to do all that he could to make sure that David had a normal life. So they flew back to Canada from Chicago, and the first thing they did was that they cleared out their basement and installed a gym in the basement. They had a physical therapist as well as a bodybuilder, and they got to work. They worked David again and again and again, because one thing the doctor said was that when you push David, you have to push him and keep pushing him, because whenever you decide to stop, it's going to reverse and you'll have to start all over again. So that's why Bernie, the father, had to employ these two specialists to help take care of the child. And after long months of work and everything, he got a call one day that David was ready. So he rushed down from work, got to the house, went into the basement. David was there, the physical therapist was there, the bodybuilder, David's mom, Elaine, his sisters, and some of the neighbors. They were all there, and they came for just one thing. David was ready to do his first push-up. And as David tried to do the push-up, his body, his emotions, his strength, everything was put to play. And as he did that push-up, there was no inch of David's body that was not filled with perspiration. but eventually he did the one push-up. And everybody in that room, in the basement, were in tears. The parents, everybody were in tears. And they were in tears because this was something that a specialist in the United States said was impossible. That David had no motor connections on his right-hand side. And because of that, it'd be impossible for him to stand straight. It'd be impossible for him to even walk. But here, they saw David do what was considered the impossible. And fast forward some years after, when David was 13 years old and he was walking down the aisle of the synagogue to get ushered into adulthood as he did his bar mitzvah, David at that point had been able to do 1,100 push-ups in a day. 1,100 push-ups in a day. I can't even do 100 if I accept my life depending on it. But David was able to do 1,100 push-ups in a day. He was able to run 6 miles non-stop. He was one of the best table tennis players in all of Winnipeg. And this same David was in grade 7. And grade 7 in St. John's Revencourt was able to do grade 9 math and do it very well. This was the child who was told that he would never be able to walk or talk or count to 10. But this was a guy who was doing great things. He was playing in his neighborhood hockey team, somebody who had no motor connections to his right-hand side. And that tells us that there's nothing impossible, or there are very, very few things that are impossible. And the fact that I kept on asking myself, what would have happened if David's father, Bernie, gave up after seeing the 20th doctor? What would have happened when he gave up after seeing all those 30 specialists? What would have happened if he just gave up and said, okay, fine, this is our lot. David is going to be a vegetable. He's just going to be there, and he just gave up. What would have happened? David would never have been able to attain his potential. But I see this story and I'm amazed, I'm inspired by it, because I feel that a lot of times you and I, we have goals that we have goals in life, things we want to achieve. But for some reason, because of one deficiency or the other that we have, we kind of feel that, okay, it's not possible. Or sometimes probably somebody who you consider an expert tells you that you can't do something, and you just accept it as the final word, and you give up on your dreams, or you give up on your aspirations. Or sometimes maybe your parents tell you that, oh, you can't do this, you're not gifted enough, you're not strong enough to do this, and you accept it and you give up on your dreams. I dare say to you today, don't you ever give up. Be like Bernie, who said that he was a salesperson and not a buyer. And because of that, he wasn't going to buy anything they told him about his son. He was going to push and push and push until he has tried everything, until he has exhausted all possibilities before he would accept. And on his visit to the 31st specialist, he got the answer he was looking for. So I tell you today, don't you ever give up. Keep trying, keep pushing, keep believing, and someday you get that thing that you truly desire. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.